Welcome back. Do you know what's found in thousands of products consumed every day, from candy and cookies to cereal and fruit punch? Food dye. You know that red dye number 40 and yellow number 5 shown on the ingredient labels? What if I told you that those food dyes may be responsible for triggering ADHD symptoms in millions of children? Crazy, right? But some say true. So joining me now to explain the connection between food dye and ADHD is Kara Corridan, Health Director for Parents Magazine. Kara.
Hi, Carol.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
This is like shocking news. Why is not the FDA all over this?
Well, the FDA has acknowledged that there may be a connection, an association between hyperactivity and food dyes, but they're not willing to go so far as to say that it's a direct cause and effect, and they don't believe there's enough definitive evidence yet.
Well, even if there's a question about it, right, why is there not just a warning label on foods to say may?
Yeah, that's interesting. And in Europe, that is happening. They do have warning labels on foods that contain certain dyes. But here, the belief is that because there isn't enough definitive research to back it up, they're not willing to go so far as to place a label.
I mean, one of the things about Europe is that they actually use natural food dyes there.
Yes, they do. And interestingly, in some of the same products that we don't use them here. But some companies in the U.S. are taking this more seriously, direct result of a lot of parents speaking up in a lot of cases. So there are some companies like Kraft that is using more natural food colorings, and not in necessarily their original macaroni and cheese, but in other products. Pepperidge Farm took them out of their goldfish. Chick-fil-A took them out of their chicken soup.
Chicken soup. I couldn't believe it. Chicken soup. But then if you look at chicken soup, when it comes from chicken, it's bright yellow.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what's a little unnerving. It's hard to really know just by the color of something that it would contain food dyes like whole wheat bread, pickles. White icing, you wouldn't expect to have yellow food dye in it, but it does. So, the one bit of good news is that it's always labeled. It has to be labeled. So if you're conscientious about reading labels, you have a big step up in determining where they are.
What they're saying is that the ADHD symptom is not directly related, but in many studies it says that it pushes children incrementally towards having ADHD symptoms. And some actually just have an outright allergy type of reaction that gives ADHD symptoms. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's right. It really depends on the child. That's kind of one of the big takeaways. In some kids, it's a direct result, and you see it right away. The parents will tell you there's such a difference. In other children, it's mild, and in some, you don't see a difference. So it really varies on the child, and genetics play a role in how much you're affected by food dyes. So it varies.
So basically, before you put your child on a pill, maybe it might be a good idea to speak to your doctor about taking them off of foods that have food dyes, just to see if there's any change.
Exactly.
Before you actually start giving your children
medication. Drugs. So yeah, the advice that we give is to speak to your pediatrician, get a checklist of ADHD symptoms, and make 4 copies of it. Fill one out right away, then just remove dyes from your child's diet, and each week check the list again, and at the end of a month start reintroducing the dyes and see if there's a change in your child's behavior, and that way you'll know.
Well, one of the things that we said is there's like almost 6 million children who eat this food dye, and they said that the reason the FDA didn't put the warning label is because it maybe affects only 8%. But if your child is one of those 8%, I mean, this is a big deal for you. But even that 8% means hundreds of thousands of children.
Yeah, that's a huge number still. So you're right, it's significant.
It's significant enough where I would think that they would put a warning label, but they haven't. So really, it's up to parents.
It is. And in fact, one of the sources in our piece said that please don't take the fact that we are not saying to put a warning label on as any kind of vote of confidence for dyes. Everybody on that committee who voted, except for one person, said that more research is necessary. So it's not, no label doesn't mean it's safe, and that's not really the message that they want across.
Could it be that children who are eating dye are just also eating more processed foods in their diet?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that, no matter what, highly processed foods really shouldn't be part of a child's diet. It's never going to be known to be the most nutritious food anyway, so that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, so you can't tell whether it's the food dye or the processed foods, but in either case, it's better to eat more natural foods.
Right. Yeah, limit the processed foods.
Kara, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about food dyes and ADHD, check out Parents Magazine online at www.parents.com. Up next, grocery shopping the healthy way. It's the only way.